Hi guys, good afternoon. As for today's lesson, we'll be looking into the theory of equilibrium versus disequilibrium, the graph that illustrates the shortage and surplus, and we'll also be looking into a couple of practice questions and a recap session before we end today's lesson. Just don't forget to like, share and subscribe my video. Let's move on to the content. So let's now begin with the theory of equilibrium. As you could see, the equation state the quantity demand equals to quantity supply. The question that you need to ask yourself is on how price being determined in the market. In order to answer this question, I would strongly suggest each of you to take a paper and pencil and practice drawing the graph. As you can see the graph, the demand curve slopes downward and the supply curve slopes upward. In my previous lesson, I have briefed you all on what the law of demand and supply states. Just a quick recap. The law of demand states when there's a fall in price, the quantity demand increases, whereas the law of supply states when there's a rise in price, the quantity supply increases. Therefore, the intersection between demand and supply, which is right in the middle and I've highlighted in red, is known as the equilibrium point. Let's now move on to the next bit of the slide. Moving on to our next theory, which is on disequilibrium, which is defined as quantity demand is not equivalent to quantity supply. The graph on the screen illustrates the shortage and surplus that exists in the market. The difference between shortage and surplus is that if the market price is below the equilibrium, the quantity demand is greater than the quantity supply, which is also known as shortage. Whereas if the market price is above the equilibrium, the quantity supply is greater than quantity demand, which is known as surplus. Therefore, in order to answer the practice questions, you have to be very clear on these points. Let's now move on to the practice questions. So let's now move on to our practice questions. The first question that we are looking into is on which of the following terms describe a situation in which there is an excess quantity demanded in a market. Before we could answer this question, you'll have to be very clear with each definition of the answers that is given. So by understanding the key terms, you will be able to decide the best option would be B. So let's now move on to our next question. Which point represents the shortage that would result in this market at a price of P5? As you could see from this point in the graph, the point X is the equilibrium point, which I will be highlighting in red. And as you could see, the point below equilibrium is referred as a shortage point, whereas the point above the equilibrium is referred as surplus point. Looking at the question that he has asked P5 and as well shortage. The term shortage tells you that it's below the equilibrium point. So in order for you to answer this question, the point that represents the shortage would be QC minus QA. So that would be the answer. I hope you guys understand this better. So here comes to our recap session. We have gone through the differences between the equilibrium point, disequilibrium point using a graph. Thank you for watching my video and feel free to provide your comments below. Have a pleasant day guys. Stay tuned for my next upcoming lesson. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Thanks once again.